intro? I don't like the regular intro for today. I'm going to skip it. We are here today. We're doing podcast episode number 8. And we have the one and drum roll. Only Tommy Vext. But. AKA. No, nobody knows this yet. This is brand new news. He has actually changed his name.
I'm not changing my name. I'm starting a maple syrup company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Am I going to get a little bit of credit for it?
No,
since I came up with the name.
You didn't come up with the name. It's called Uncle Tom's.
No, but I called you syrup this morning. I didn't actually do that, but you thought I did.
Yeah, but the reason why I thought you said that is because I forgot if I didn't tell you about my maple syrup company.
Okay.
So I'm basically going to replace Aunt Jemima. And I'm going to have I'm going to be more buff on the cover on the bottle, but it's going to be Tommy Vext, Uncle Tom's maple brown syrup. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: there's going to be no high fructose corn syrup in it. It's going to be 100% maple syrup from Vermont.
Why Vermont?
Because that's where maple trees come from in this country. Otherwise, we got to get them from Canada. Wow. And then if you get maple syrup from Canada, they have to COVID test it to ship it over here.
Oh,
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Maple trees have to be vaccinated.
They have the maple testing centers, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be great, yeah.
Well, either way, so I don't think people need a lot of introduction of who you are. I'm sure everybody knows. But do you want to do a little brief intro of yourself?
I mean, I don't really like talking about myself. However,
okay, how about this?
What?
Why don't you do an introduction of Achilles here then instead?
Okay. Why don't you do Achilles?
Hey guys, come on, let's.
Why don't you give Achilles his intro?
Okay, we got Cowboy Achilles Lucky Charm King.
Thank you.
Tommy Syrup Vext, and I don't even have a name. I mean.
Yeah.
I'm clearly not part of this team.
You're like Malibro Barbie.
What am I?
Malibro Barbie.
Malibro Barbie.
Yeah. Huh. Because you have so many colorful outfits and you work out.
Malibro Barbie.
Yeah.
Malibro Barbie.
That's how you see me? Colorful outfits, I guess.
You have the most colorful outfits.
Maybe I do.
You have the most colorful outfits of any human person I know that isn't a peacock. Pretty much.
I honestly did not think that Tommy was going to be this funny, man.
I'm not that funny. I'm just observant.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
What did you think?
I thought I was going to see this big, jacked, tattooed, fierce guy.
And he just looks at you and you...
Dude, I'm going to be real. Like, when I first met you, I got, like, goosebumps. I was like, damn, this guy's energy is insane. And I was like, oh, this guy's solid. He's straight.
Yeah. I keep it 100, but you got to go through the fire to know what you're made of, I mean, but we going to get into all that, but thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's good vibes all around. You know what I mean? I think that we were kind of talking about this last night at dinner, that over the past 2 years, some people talk about the Great Awakening. I feel like what the Great Awakening has been people of the same spiritual, mental, and emotional integrity kind of getting a little bit higher up and being able to see one another. And so my circles have changed drastically in the past 2.5 years. And the quality of the people in my life are so much fucking higher. And also too, what I look for and who's allowed to be in my circle is so much more higher than it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Because we're at a place in history where if you don't have the same integrity and the same value system as me, and you're not actively working towards bettering yourself, I know that the only thing that you can bring me is loss. And so now I'm in this fucking groove of being completely independent in my career. And I had major fucking issues in 2020 and 2021, leaving my record label and lawsuits and everything. They're all settled now. And now I'm an independent artist again after being on a major label, selling millions of records, having billions of streams, billions of views on YouTube, not millions, billions. And, everywhere I go, I get recognized, but the music industry tried to cancel me and tried to make me disappear from radio stations, disappear from Instagram. My Instagram's been deleted twice with hundreds of thousands of followers, but I'm still here. You know what I mean? And I've got like last month I charted. I was the number 4. I put out 3 songs after being pretty much inactive, and I, with no radio play, no media coverage, nothing, I charted as I was the number 4 most downloaded song on Billboard. Wow. Right? And that's sales. It's not radio. When you want to be the most spun on radio, you cut a check for $100,000. People just pay. So you have all these people, you know, and I charted 3 times. I was number 4, number 17, and number 20. And those are the only 3 songs I put out. Wow. You know, and so the industry is like, we thought we got rid of this guy. And I'm like, nah, bro.
But it's more, the more they try to shut you down, the more dedicated your fans get and the more fans you get because...
Yeah, I mean, I don't even, this is the thing, like, the thing that happened with, you know, when I came out and I started talking about politics in 2020 and I started questioning narratives and I started, you know, as somebody who like, I kind of woke up politically around 2000 and I want to say 14, but I just kept it to myself. I worked in the music industry. I was a sober coach for major pop artists. Like, so before my career took off, I was a drug and alcohol counselor. I just turned 13 years sober. And so that's what I did. So I like, you know, I was in the background, just like, you know, my primary purpose is to stay sober and help another alcoholic get sober, or addict achieve sobriety. And that was also became my job. And so when 2020 happened and I had already established this foundation as being a multi-platinum artist, I toured all over the world in arenas for a couple years. I was pretty like, I'm going to say what I want. Huge mistake. Now, it wasn't a mistake because the way that things played out, like, you know, and I'm a pretty spiritual guy, and I, you know, sometimes you don't really know why, you know, you can get lost and be like, God, why is this going? Like, you tell, like, I'm being told that I need to say and do these things to my own detriment. It feels like why am I? It feels like I'm hanging myself, and you keep reassuring me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's for a reason. And it's like sometimes courage is not the absence of fear; it's the judgment that something else is more important. And the 2 things that will always be more important than fear is love and the truth. And those are both synonymous with God's will for creation, right? God loves us, and so therefore we are. Indeed. And God is truth, and God is absolution, and therefore it's irrefutable. It's absolution. So when you have, you know, man creates confusion, man creates war, man creates division, man, you know, because man seeks to be God, right? The people who own the media, the people who own the banking infrastructures, the people who own the masters of this universe, right? The men who own, and the families of the heirs who have owned and controlled society for generations, they seek to be God. So they rule over us and they control over us, and they have plans and designs for us that are not aligned with God's will for humanity. And people like this have, you know, if you read the Bible or you read the Torah or the Quran, like whatever religious book, men have throughout the course of history, corrupt kings and queens have existed throughout the course of human history. Because what happens with people who have too much power is absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so I was put in this position to say what I was seeing and see and investigate and talk about it like many other people. And I was punished for it. Brutally, like, you know, I've never seen such seditious and fallacious like stuff in the press about me, where for my entire course of my career, for the past 13 years of my life, you know, I'm a sober coach. I donated millions of dollars to fucking charities. I've donated money to police officers wounded on the job. I've supported sober companies like Rock to Recovery. I've gotten awards for my excellence in service to the community. I've done outreach programs in high schools with the police, you know, in Los Angeles, especially in Santa Monica, with the narcotics division, doing anti-drug and alcohol policies for the kids. Like, there's just so much stuff. Like, I worked with the Midnight Mission, Monday Night Mission, homeless, feeding the homeless for like a couple of years on and off when I was home from tours. So like all these things that I did that are part of my recovery, and part of giving back and investing into my community once I said I'm not going to vote Democrat, I was like a murderer, a psychopath, like just a woman beater. They were like anything. They were like, they were just throwing anything they could to see what would stick. Yeah. And it didn't work.
So what was it that made you wake up politically? Like you said, what was there a certain event?
No, there wasn't an event. It was just like when I was a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, right? And so the best way to describe politics is those street games, right? So there's a guy on the corner and everyone's around in a circle and he's got 3 cups and there's a dice under the cup and he's like, which one is it? And people are betting to see if they can see where the dice is under which cup. But what people don't realize is there's a hole in the table and he's moving the dice and the dice falls into his lap and then he pushes it back up through the hole with his knee and psh. So it's like, no, it's not there, it's there. And that's what politics is. That's literally what politics is. It's a shitty shanty card game. It's a fucking bait and switch dice game. You know what I mean?
How did you realize that though? Because a lot of people out there they're fully believing all of this garbage, right?
It's because the way that you think, right? Like I grew up with drug dealers. I grew up with fucking hustlers, and like it's like My Cousin Vinny, right? It's the best way to describe it. There's a scene where his nephew is like, yeah, Vinny's the guy. He's like, he could figure out any scam. He's like, I when I was a kid, my parents got me a magician, and he was like doing magic tricks. And it was like, it's under his hat, and everything he did, he would figure it out. And we took him over here to the pool hall, and the guy, he was like, some people are just gifted with spotting the hustle. So it's not. When I look at the grand scheme of things, it's not. To me, everything is connected. Right, and I think a lot of the problem with the mass population is most of these people don't really know how wealthy people look at the rest of us, right? So I've had clients who are the most famous people in the world, some of the richest people in the world, and I've also been, I've had record deals, and I've had, I'm in private conversations, and like, I don't say things, I just listen, and these people they're not well. They don't see us as human beings, A lot of politicians, this is the thing, like what people fail to realize is that humanity does not need government. Government needs humanity. If all the world governments collapsed and dissolved, people would figure it out. We'd rebuild. We'd reorchestrate. We would find a new way, or we would implement the ways that worked in the past and then, switch them around. But government can't exist without people. So if there was like, if there was a flash and all people were gone, what the fuck would they do? They have no survival skills. Their whole entire life is built off lying and manipulating large groups of people into supporting them, and that's their power. It's almost like magic. It's a con game, right? Like you can't. This is why I tell people, artists hit me up and like, what should I do to fucking help my career? I'm like, don't sign a record deal. I'm like, but how will I? I'm like, listen, you can't spell contract without con. Wow. You know what I mean? Everything is a scam. It's a bad deal. It's a fucking bad bank loan. You know what I mean? With an insurmountable interest rate, and they. Basically, the way that the record labels work is the same way the banking infrastructure works and the same way the government works, was they're trying to keep us in perpetual debt, because that is how they can keep us working every single day, never finding out who we are, fucking keep just showing up, going to work, making other people rich, and then we die, right? They poison our food, and it's just like, it's not a conspiracy anymore. It's not a conspiracy theory. Right, like we have the lowest testosterone. Our country has the lowest testosterone it's had in history, in recorded history. Right, the average 27-year-old American man who's completely healthy has the same level of testosterone as a 70-year-old man did in like 1960. Wow.
We talk a lot about this testosterone shit. People don't realize that.
Well, yeah, but that's how you can control people. Why do you think? Why do you think there are men at these fucking at these women's marches wearing pussy hats? You know what I mean? Because they can't compete. Yeah. They can't compete. They can't compete they're basically falsely virtue signaling and pretending they believe in something, hoping they get scraps of pussy. That's literally all they're doing. You know, because they're not activating their internal mechanism of what it is to be a man. Like, you can't, you know, Jordan Peterson talks about this. There's been an attack on men for probably like the last 7 or 8 years. But the reality is that, dude, men are great, right? Men do great things. There are bad women and bad men, but there are good men and good women, and there are just like there's good and bad of everything. There's good and bad of every race. There's good and bad of every, every person has free will to choose whether they're going to do right or do wrong. So this full court press on pretending that men are like all men are bad and predators and misogynists and is ridiculous, because everything we have is because of men, right? Indeed. Who the fuck dug all the fucking trenches, right? Who put all the piping in? Right? Who created the sewer systems? When every time a liberal woman who hates men flushes a toilet, a man created that. Every time you go, every building, but that's what I'm saying. Like every building that's been built over the last, you're never gonna see this. Like we're in Miami right now, right? There's construction everywhere. I don't see any women construction workers erecting these massive buildings still. So why are men so bad? If we're charged with the task of dealing with criminals, if we're the ones that we have to go, dude, I don't want a female firefighter saving me. If my apartment was on fire, well, I live in a house. If I was on my second floor of my house and my house was on fire and I was trapped, dude, I don't want a woman to come save me. I'm 260 pounds. So that means I need a dude who's at least 300 pounds to carry my lifeless body down the stairs to safety. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And we have to stop pretending that, men and women are a yin and a yang, right? We're equal, but we're not the same.
Yeah, we have our different strengths. Yeah. As it should be, yeah.
And we can't do it. Like, this is a thing too. Like, this whole push in society is kind of degraded relationships and the ideals of relationships, because we need you guys, we need women to be there for us in a way that we can't be there for ourselves.
Agree.
Or each other. And women are being stripped of that thing that is most powerful about themselves, is their vulnerability, their emotional intellect. Women are way much more emotionally intuitive, intellectual than men by far. You guys mature faster than us, but you also are more prone to tenderness and kindness. And that also affects a man who's really, especially men who are overachievers, and we're really in this world fighting for our position. Because people say oh, it's like men and women are, the suicide rate of all the genders, right? If there's 5,000 genders, the highest suicide rate is men. Because it doesn't matter what you are as a man, if you don't make money and you don't have influence and you don't have this, you don't have all the things, you ain't shit. Yeah. You're a fucking worthless piece of shit. And nobody feels bad for you and nobody cares. But we don't talk about that.
Do you think there's a solution? Like, do you think there's a way to fix it?
I think what's happening is the natural occurrence of what happens is when I think humanity has been continuously poisoned by narratives from the media that are coming from the top, from people who seek to divide and destroy the nuclear family. And so we're having a revival, whereas church attendance is the highest it's ever been in this country. People are rejecting these sentiments, you know what I mean? And it's almost like I think there's going to be an overcorrection where things got pushed so far left that they might go a little too far right, and then we'll come back to some sort of center for a while. But I just don't think if you look at how they manipulated people with COVID, and they're like, everyone's going to die. People were fucking terrified, bro. People were fighting, you know what I mean? In the grocery store, like, dude, people who wouldn't say shit to you would be like, yeah, I can't believe, fuck you, man. Because I'm like, I've had people say shit to me in like Whole Foods, right? I lived in LA during the fucking lockdowns, and I didn't wear a mask, and like, people are like, yeah, you're going to fucking kill somebody. I'm like, bro, I've already killed someone.
Yo.
And they're like, I'm like, yeah, I'm more dangerous than COVID. If you fucking just put your hand on me, I'll kill you. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, no, it's not like that, bro. and I'm not really going to kill these people, but
no, I get it.
I like for them to fucking feel real. Like, I'm like, you need a little taste of reality. Yeah. You've been on the computer. You've been in front of the TV. You've been in your house for fucking months. I was like, now you're going to run to scare, you're going to, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's
real,
more like,
you're going to run to a real nigga. Real nigga's here right now.
I mean, I feel like it's just going to get worse, too. Like, the fucking people, the kids that are growing up now, all they know is a freaking screen, right?
Yeah. But parents are changing I feel like parents are also limiting now. They see the damage that it's doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have faith in the process. Like I like this. People realize things are bad and then stop doing them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. We were just talking about, you know, we walked past McDonald's and we're like, I can't believe McDonald's is still open. Who goes there? Mm. And I said only poor people.
Yeah.
Wow. That's it. Right? I would never eat McDonald's. I grew up eating McDonald's, right? Yeah. I was like, ooh, Happy Meals. I think we all
did, right?
Yeah, we didn't know 20, 30 years ago, we didn't know, but now we know what it does and we're like, pass. So I think too, like, I also see like a lot of the younger generation are definitely on to the political bullshit. They don't pick a side. They're like, bro, like this is like okay, you know what I mean? Because the kids are fucking on the computer and they're figuring it out, and they're like, yo, I'm like, you know, that's why TikTok has blown up so much.
The same with the testosterone shit. So the kids that are being born now are probably being born with lower testosterone that they're supposed to have.
I mean, I don't think that until you're 18 you should be messing with your hormones. You know, I think when you're growing up, you should get tested.
Yeah,
I
way
mean,
earlier.
I had a buddy. My friend Frank was like he was like the house mouse. You know what I mean? When we were growing up,
house mouse.
Yeah, he was a little guy, and his dad was a bodybuilder, and for whatever reason, Frank took after his mom and was small, and like he got a prescription for growth hormone, and then took it from high school to 23, and then he was 6'3" and 220 pounds.
Wow.
So
damn.
Yeah. So it's like, and that was, God, I'm 40. That was fucking, 15 years ago or something. Wow. So, the technology exists. You know what I mean? It's not like we don't know, and people who understand this stuff understand. But I think, it's the real hard thing is the water and the plastics. It's really hard to drink water that doesn't have BPIs in it from this plastic seeping, and also microwave plates, all that shit. Like when you put stuff in the microwave, the plastics seep into the food, and you can't, the molecules, and that stuff fucks with your hormones. Dryer sheets and fabric softener have fucking chemicals in it that actually deplete your testosterone. And then you look at stuff like HCG, where bodybuilders, real bodybuilders who like are on gear, take HCG so that their testes still make sperm, and it produces more sperm count, right? They give this also to people who are trying to get pregnant. For some reason, last year they recategorized this as the same as cocaine and heroin. Wow, it's completely illegal because they don't want people to reproduce for some reason.
Yeah,
they want people to be sterilized.
They're doing it with everything. I said so. So I have a lot of gut issues, right? So I got thymosin alpha from my physician, which helps basically your body recover. So recently I competed and I ate out in restaurants a lot. My stomach got upset, so I said, "Can I please have the thymosin alpha?" He's like, "No, you can't get it anymore. It's illegal because it prevents COVID." So now you can't get that shit either. It's like whatever.
Well, it's like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin,
all of these things,
which I get from Mexico.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the last time I got COVID, I cured it in 6 hours.
What?
Yeah, and that's one of the other reasons why my social media was taken down. Because I did the live experiment. I was like, all right, guys, we're positive. I'm like, here's the hydroxychloroquine. I got it from Mexico.
What was the first thing that you noticed?
So now this podcast is gonna get shut down too.
No,
you can just bleep this out. No, they probably will shut it down.
I don't give a fuck.
We'll make another one.
They'll flag you for false information.
We'll start another one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fucking pharmaceutical companies own everything. The media, all the media conglomerates. I mean, you look at what's going on in Miami. The entire fucking Hispanic news organizations have been bought by George Soros. Wow. Why? the same guy who used BLM to rob all the money from the black community, like, sick. He just can't leave the minorities alone, bro. Like, they're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like, bro, who is this guy? Why is this guy even allowed to operate? You know what I mean? But anyway, you were saying.
No. I was just asking, like, when you first started speaking out on things like this, when did you start seeing the friction? Like, when was the first experience you were like, something's going on?
The first was the bots.
Yeah.
So first, like on Facebook and Instagram, I noticed I'd be getting all these hateful comments. And also too, like, on Facebook, there was a barrage of nurses and doctors who would corroborate the COVID narrative and say, and accuse me of killing people, right? Now, and I'm like, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So what I do, I go and I look at these people, I follow them, I check them out. I'm like, why was your profile just made?
Wow.
Your profile is like 3 months old. You have no follow. Where are your pictures?
Yeah.
Why are you all? And then the real funny thing is, like, the bots they're so lazy with it. They only say like the same 40 different things, and they just keep putting the text in different. So you're like, I would screenshot them and look, and I'm like, well, Billy said exactly the same thing as Terry, and fucking Dr. Peter said the same thing as Nurse Jill. Wow. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, you know. And then I started to expose that, and people were like, holy shit, like, that's the thing. It's like, you can't scam me.
Yeah.
Right. So I started doing that, and then I started posting how, like, look, these aren't even real people. And then everyone would be like, oh my God, they're not. Like, what? Who's doing this? And like, bro, something weird's going on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, you know, I started asking questions. I didn't definitively know what was going on. And then I had a couple of contacts in government who, like, were fans, and I started getting information from them, and then it really started getting crazy. Wow. Because you're not allowed to know this shit.
Yeah.
You're literally not allowed to know. So.
Wow. So when did you when you started getting the friction? Obviously, that was kind of your way of being like, you know what, like, now I'm really gonna turn up and speak to the people, or is it just?
Well, no, my management and my label and my lawyer and everyone got on a phone call to fucking try to fucking tell me to stop talking about this stuff. Yeah, because I did. So I basically in I think June of 2020, I did an investigation into Black Lives Matter, and then I found out that the corporation had nothing to do with the grassroots movement, and that the corporation was owned by Act Blue, which was owned by the Democratic National Convention and George Soros, and all the people on the panel on the board of Act Blue were white.
Wow.
Yeah, including Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. And I'm like, wait. So, you know, follow the money. So, you know, and basically then I started looking into who owned the media, and I started looking into the families that own all the media. And then I did a marker video. I was actually at my buddy's house, and his daughters were like, what's BLM? Like, where's, you know, because the riots had happened. And I cleaned up the riots. You know what I mean? When they burned down Santa Monica the next day, like, me and everyone from Golds got together, and I spent over $1,000 on brooms and garbage bags. Wow. And we handed them out. And, like, there were thousands of people cleaning up, but there was no media coverage of it. Like, and that's what real America really is. There were every person of every race, every color, everything showed up to clean up. And the same thing happened in Minneapolis, but they didn't show it because it doesn't follow the narrative, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, wow, all these fucking people destroyed everything. It's like, yeah, but more people came and fixed it.
Yeah. Do
you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's what America really is. It's like, show the helpers. Where are the helpers? And so I was so pissed that had happened that I started looking really into this stuff. And then my buddy I was at my buddy's house, and his daughters have like all these markers and stuff. So I took the markers, and I was like, okay. And I did this marker video, and it wound up going viral. Wow. So it got 37 million views in 4 days. It was on World Star Hip Hop.
Insane.
Yeah, and I had gotten like 100,000 Instagram followers in like 4 days from it. Like every UFC fighter posted it, every porn star, because nobody knew what was going on. And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm like, here's the fucking news. These are the different news companies. I'm like, this is the fucking incident. This is BLM. This is Antifa. This is the fucking people who are using it. They also are investors in the media companies. So they're basically switching everybody to make money by selling advertisement and getting donations for this thing, but it's not going to the black community. And the black community is just literally saying we don't want our men killed by police, and they're protesting because of George Floyd, and that's fine. But then they have these white boys who are coming in and burning everything down and destroying it. Yeah. And they're making it look like it's us.
That's crazy.
And it's not. And they're paid. So they literally, the George Floyd riots was the American version of the Night of Broken Glass, which is where the fucking brown shirt Nazis went and destroyed all the Jewish businesses dressed in plain clothes during peaceful protests, right? And so they just, and Soros, his uncle is a Nazi, and Klaus Schwab's father worked with Hitler. These people are just running the same white supremacist neo-Nazi playbook. The only difference is the white supremacists have learned to get people of minority. They're like, it's easier if we use them by emotionally manipulating them, and we'll use them against the conservatives or the white people, and we'll say those white people are the ones who are racist instead of us, because all they really want is they want free men and women to have no freedom, and they want minorities to be slaves. That's what they want. So they basically cooked up this whole bullshit, and I exposed it in a 5-minute video. And people were ridiculing me, and then people started to research what I was saying, and then it was like the arguments were happening were like, so all the media, like I'm media trained, and I knew that the media would never run this story. So I was like, racism is manufactured. I waited till the end of the video, and I'm like, there's no racism. Because this would cause a liberal person to have a complete psychological meltdown, because the foundation, everyone who works in the media has been to college, and they've been indoctrinated with this Marxism and this fucking critical race theory. So I understand what I'm doing now. And so the headlines are like, lead singer of Bad Wolves says racism is manufactured, right? And all these white dudes are ripping on me, who I'm black. I've had the black experience. I'm from South Brooklyn. Of course. But they're trying to tell me how stupid I am. And I'm like, okay, cool. So what happened is I used them, and they spread this video like wildfire. And all of a sudden, that's millions and millions and millions of people were like, holy shit. And it woke them up. And they started looking into it. And then, dude, everywhere I went, like, I was like everywhere.
Wow.
And once it was on World Star Hip Hop, it was like a whole other thing. Like, because I was always like Zombie guy. Because, Zombie is like 440 million views on YouTube. It got billions of streams. It's platinum in like 15 countries or something. So like that's like my first viral video. This was the second one. I remember coming to Miami because I was supposed to sign a deal with a supplement company, and this was during COVID. And dude, people in the airport were like, "It's the Marca guy," like all these Jamaican dudes. I was like, "Oh," and then other people were like, "Oh, that's the guy from Bad Wolves," and like, "Nah, this man, he knows," like I was like, "All right." And the guy at my pizza place in Venice, they all called me woke brother.
Woke brother.
Like, yo, woke brother. I was like, and I wouldn't wear a mask. Yo,
I love it.
They'd be like, yo, what do you think about all this? I'm like, oh, God, I'll tell you guys after. When's your lunch break?
Yeah.
I'd be in the parking lot, like, just. But it was hilarious. But everyone lost their minds. The liberals went fucking crazy on me. My own guitar player, like, called me hysterical, crying. He's like, I can't believe you. And this dude would jump on a grenade for Hillary Clinton. He's so lost. He's a lot. And he's a brother too. And we've been friends for 20 years. Yeah. But he's my brother in Christ. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I'm just like, hey, man. So that was the fucking huge drama, right? Mm-hmm. That was the first. Mm-hmm. And so they tried to, like, I was encouraged to fucking apologize. And I didn't really apologize. I was like, hey, I hurt some people's feelings because the timing was wrong, but everything I still said was the truth. Like, like, that's not,
Did you do that too? When you told them?
No, it was typed. I did it while I was typing it. I was like,
it's typed.
Yeah. So, it was just one of those things. And so that was the beginning. Then it ended up, there was a conversation where my my social media had grown 4 times the size. And then I had overshadowed the band. I had now had the biggest social media of anybody on the record label. Like, it was out of control. Mm-hmm. And like, I had garnished all the support because just from being patriot because I'm pro-American, I'm pro-freedom, and I'm not like a Republican or it's like Republican Democrat. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm like it's the same thing with recovery. I'm like I'm not like I go by the book. I'm like it's in the book. If it's in the Constitution, they wrote this for a reason. I understand the reason why the Constitution was made is because of they were escaping like governments that we now have. Right, our government is so corrupt that we've literally we have an unchecked system of government in America that has been unchecked for so long that it has become the thing that our forefathers fled and fought to never be suppressed by. And so it's a pretty good manual. I'm like, we need to go. I'm like, just read the manual.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do if your fucking engine breaks and you're in the middle of the desert? You're like, open the user manual, figure it out, call AAA. Except that's the thing. It's like people expect. I think what a lot of Americans falsely believe, like, Donald Trump's not going to save us, and no politician is going to save us. DeSantis can't save us. Nobody can save us. It's every single American person has to get involved. Yeah. And they have to not just only vote, but you have to get in the school boards, and you got to kick out these people who've been running the school boards who want to bring your kids to drag shows and sexualize children. Yeah. It's not an LGBTQ thing. Like all my friends who are gay, lesbian, or trans are like, there's absolutely no reason to teach this in school to kids who are not even of the age to have sex. It doesn't make any sense. No. It's just grooming. Right. And so any sane person can see that obviously this curriculum is the if you look up the Weimar Republic, which is right before what happened in right before Hitler rose to power, it's like they legalized in certain parts of Germany pedophilia, right? The government did. That's the beginning of the end. And that's what they're trying to do because there are people in power who part of their religious system is child abuse. It's part of their religion, and they believe in it. Like it's a real deep rabbit hole. But these people don't. It's not like their religion is older than Christianity. It's older than Judaism. It's older than their Muslim religion. It's old. It's an archaic, like elitist only religion that gets passed down through royalty over generation forever. And they believe in weird ass shit that would make you sick. And so it's not a conspiracy of why you're like all of a sudden they're like, why is all this happening? Why the fuck did we go from, how the fuck in the 2 years was it like, we went from having first it was like masks in school and now we're like having drag queens in school, right? I watched a video of this drag queen, and she was like, there's no reason for children to come to these things. We don't want them at Pride. We don't want them here. Like this is we are adults expressing our own sexuality, and it is not for you. We're not a zoo. It's not for you to come here and bring your kids and be like, oh, look at the trans people or look at the cross-dressing people. Like this is who we are.
Yeah,
you don't fucking belong. You don't belong here.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those people in those groups are like, we don't want your kids here. We're not a fucking. It's not for that. You know what I mean? And so. But that's not what's getting televised. You know what I mean? Those people get no airtime because it's not along with the lines of what the elitists want. Yeah. So there's just like a lot of fucking, this could go on and on and on. Yeah. There's so many cascading problems that are all interwoven and connected. It's like, yeah.
But do you think like people are capable of this? Do you think do you still have hope in this country? Do you think people are capable of actually changing their mindset? Or do you feel like you just fuck this shit?
No, I think what's going to happen is, I don't know what's going to happen, and I hope it doesn't come down to violence, but I think that there's going to be, they faked the insurrection for a reason because it was a flex of like, don't even think about it. That's all it really was. And that, Hollywood is working with the Democrats constantly to come up with narratives and shit. Because that's why it seems like the last couple of years, our lives is a movie. COVID is a movie. It's a movie plot. Then they ran it as long as they could. And the thing is that they run off of fear. So now there was no fear, right? So then they tried monkeypox. Didn't work. They tried aliens. Remember that? They were like, there are aliens. And people were like, oh, okay.
You can trick people into fucking anything with this shit.
But nobody cares. But this is the thing is people, look, the average person in an abusive relationship will stay after 7 incidents of abuse, right? The media and our government have mentally and emotionally abused us like 14 times, and now it doesn't work anymore. The gaslighting ends because you can only be in a fucking suspended state of constant terror, bewilderment, and frustration for your body starts to understand. No matter how smart or dumb you are, you're just like, oh. You start to get it, right? Because there's a rhythm to it. And so I personally think I think that the, Roe v. Wade thing, it's the best thing that could happen to the Democrats because they have no moral ground to stand on. Everyone hates them, right? Like people are saying, like every liberal person in Hollywood is like, I'm politically homeless because they don't have a place to go because the left is you can't be sane, right? You can't be a sane person. The only people who support the Biden administration are pedophiles, right? Every time someone from Antifa gets locked up or killed, they're a pedophile. Why is that? Why do they have an army of child abusers? Wow. Every single time Kyle Rittenhouse shoots 2 guys, both of them pedophiles, right? Some guy got killed in one of the riots. He was a pedophile. All these Antifa people are child abusers. So, and how are they finding them? They're probably these people are probably getting put up. They probably get caught. They all have prison records. They're either in jail, and a DA, a Soros-appointed DA, comes in and said, "Hey, we're going to let you out, but you got to work for us."
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And so now that's what they're doing. They're an army of criminals, and you look at every fucking Democratic city, and the policies that they have put in place with criminals is that you're getting locked up and getting turned out. Right? Like during the LA riots, 90% of the criminals who were arrested were let out the same day, and they were all from out of state. They were bussed in. They came from Portland. They came from fucking West Virginia. Dude, and I'm friends with the lieutenant in Santa Monica PD, so I was privy to all this information. So none of it is organic, right? I mean, I'm adopted. My mom was a fucking junkie. She abandoned me and my brother, and we were twins, you know? But then, like, you look at me, and my brother's doing 20 years in jail for attempted murder, and he's a fucking...
Exactly.
He's a gangster and a drug addict. I got sober. It's about choices. Yeah. But I will say this, most of my life was so horrible. Like, most of my life was so unbearably miserable. I wish I was dead for fucking most of it. I didn't want to be alive. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I'm just not a quitter. You know, we're just gonna stick it out till it gets better. But that's the thing. It's like, when you can be born in the most severe poverty circumstances and the most shitty circumstances, but if you are willing to take responsibility, extreme responsibility for yourself and your life, and everything is on you, in a capitalist society, you can become anything. In a communist society, there's no reason to try because no matter how hard you work or what you do, you're not allowed to succeed. Yeah. And that's what they're trying to implement, and that's what I don't want taken away, right? A communist society turns winners into losers and losers into not knowing they're losers. And that's what all the losers want. Every single person who's like, we need fucking socialism and communism and we need to try it. It's because you're not the best and the brightest. You're the least hardworking people. Only pathetic, low-driven, worthless, self-hating, miserable cocksucking motherfuckers are like, everyone should have the same. I'm like, no, we shouldn't.
But do you think those miserable cocksucking motherfuckers, do you think they can change?
No, they should die of them. They should be exterminated. No, but that's the thing. It's like, if you look at people, right, we're not individual, we're connected. We're like cells in a body. And so if you look at their mentality, their ideology is like, it's like cancer. So the more hate and more fucking negativity and more self-loathing and fucking...
just builds.
Yeah, it's metastasizing a cancer. So liberalism and far leftism and communism and socialism is cancer on Earth, right? And we're the red and white blood cells, and we So that's the thing. It's like if you had cancer and like, well, we gotta have chemotherapy, and let's say chemotherapy is like a nuclear fucking war, and you're like, but the good news is like something's going on and the cancer is killing itself. You're like, I'll pass on the chemo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, so how long is it going to take for this cancer to fucking just, kill itself? They're like, well, your body's fighting it off and it just seems to be fucking, destroying itself. So we'll just give it a couple of years and just keep checking up on it. I mean, this, so I don't know if that's a dark way to think about it, but it's just like, I'm very much into nature. I studied biology. I studied paleontology. That's another reason why, like, the global warming thing doesn't freak me out, because we've had multiple ice ages. Mm-hmm. I studied this stuff. I've studied the Triassic, Cretaceous, Jurassic periods, the Mesozoic era, the fucking ice ages. This is what I'm into. Mm-hmm. I'm a fucking nerd, and so, just like the planet is gonna change. We are always going to have a fluctuating temperature system, but it's so minuscule that it's not like, we're not in a position right now, or probably within the next 500 years, where there's going to be some devastating fucking man-made, thing.
But you don't think we need to change things?
The main things we need to change aren't being done, right? Like we don't sanction China and Japan for leaving toxic plastic garbage islands in the middle of the ocean that kill all the bio fucking life, or the way that they fish, right? They do dragging, they rip up the coral bottoms, they fucking literally destroy the sea, and they just do whatever the fuck they want, and we don't, for whatever reason, China doesn't get challenged or forced to adhere to any of these sanctions, because they're just like whatever, fuck you, because they're powerful enough to, right? Japan doesn't, they don't stop whaling. They're just like, fuck you guys. We don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. So it's like, America we actually have like one of the least of the major, countries. We actually have a pretty good system in place of keeping garbage and fucking shit out of the ocean and recycling. And they try to convince us that we're like the worst in the world. And I'm like, we're literally not. Like, none of this is statistically factual. Should everyone do their part? Yeah, of course. But that's also for the biosphere. That's because you want to make sure that, you need to have phytoplankton, you need to have algae. Like, these are the phytoplankton and algae create more oxygen in their plumage than fucking the rainforest. Right? And we need oxygen to live. Mm-hmm. And the whales eat that, and they keep it in check so it doesn't completely overtake the oceans. You know what I mean? It's just, we could go into this fucking, this is like a long, deep, dark hole.
But you said that most of your life you were just miserable, like you didn't even want it to continue. What is it that kept you going? Because, I mean, you're a very interesting character. You just fucking keep fighting, and it seems like shit's just coming down on you, but you just keep going.
I don't know, because I just don't, I refuse to fucking quit, right? And there's a saying in recovery my sponsor used to say, he said, don't quit before the miracle happens. Mm-hmm. And so I've had as much as like I've had glimpses in my life, of absolute happess. It's never lasting. Yeah. But that's what you keep fighting for.
Can you give me an explanation of something?
Yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as, in 2008, I was in Australia, standing on stage watching Incubus play, I Wish You Were Here, and I missed my fiance, and I was standing on stage with a band called Bleeding Through, and then the girl next to me was also married, and her husband was back home in the U.S., and all of us looked at each other, and everyone was crying. Mm-hmm. All the tattooed tough people. And I'll never forget that moment. Mm-hmm. Right? Or when I came home for Christmas, and my mom, we grew up poor, and I came home for Christmas, and I saved up some money, and my mom, for her 70th birthday, wanted to go to Italy. So I bought her a European vacation, all expenses paid trip to go to Italy and Paris, and I got her a room at a hotel overlooking the Eiffel Tower, and I had to go on tour, so I couldn't be with her, so I bought my sister the identical trip and sent the two of them to Europe for 23 days. Wow. But in my family, no one could ever do that, afford that, and it was like, to me, it was like, whatever, it's nothing. Wow. You know what I mean? I don't buy expensive things. Like, I drive a fucking Ford Explorer. Mm-hmm. Before that, I had a Ford Fusion. I don't waste money on things like that. I don't even fucking, I don't want to get too much into I just don't spend money because I believe money is a tool for security, and also like the value of experience of life, right? Like I've used my career to see the world, and that's the most important thing to me. You know what I mean? Like I've had like another example of like moments that have been amazing in my life, where I was like super down. It was like, our friend Derek, he was homeless and a drug addict, and he had overdosed. And I've talked about this on a few podcasts, but I was going to commit suicide, right? I tested, my twin brother tried to murder me in 2010. In 2012, I had hit the end of my rope. I lost my job. My brother went to jail. I testified against him. I was completely suicidal. I was super fucked up. And I went to go jump in front of a train. And this kid called me and asked me if I could help him get sober. And he was crying, and he was a fucking train wreck. And I was like, I'm like, okay, God. I'm like, all right, I get it. So I met him, and I took him under my wing, and I started going to meetings with him. And I basically was like, I'll just kill myself tomorrow. Every day, I'll just like, we'll just do it tomorrow. We can't leave this kid hanging. And then 10 years later, he's one of my best friends, and he's kind of like my little brother now. And he saved my life. And
I think you saved each other's life.
Well, that's what it is. Is that when we're meant to, even, and as dark as I talk about like rats and exterminators, it's like true humanity is like we're supposed to help each other. Yeah. I just am frustrated with, I can't wait. There are people who can't be woken up. They're fucking completely gone. And so in recovery, I don't like, they tell you too, you're like, dude, don't spend time trying to help somebody get clean who wants to die. Who doesn't want to get clean. You have to find, it's like you put the oxygen mask over yourself before attending to others. Now, if the plane is fucking losing pressure and someone refuses to put the fucking oxygen mask on, you got to go to the next person. You know 100%. What I mean? You know, so it's like in the military, it's like if there's a firefight and you're a medic and people are fucking, this guy's going to die, like I can't waste my time. This dude's almost dead already. I got to move on to somebody I could save. And I feel like a lot of these people who are on the far left, their mentality, they're so mentally ill and so spiritually sick, they're lost. And maybe somebody can reach them, but I have not had the experience that I can.
I wanted to tap into what you told me yesterday, if it's possible, day before yesterday, about your experience and when you said when your brother killed you.
Oh yeah.
Could you elaborate on that story? Because I would love for people to really hear that, because that's
Oh yeah, so it was the long story short then of what happened is that my brother was, he was on angel dust, and he's like, we hadn't talked in a long time. He broke into the place. I came home. He was already inside. I was like, you got to leave. I got him to go outside. I was like, you need to get out of here. I said, I'm like, you're high right now. Go like sleep it off, and I'll help you get into rehab. Otherwise, get the fuck out of here. He didn't like that. Went into my neighbor's garage, got a crowbar, hid in the bushes. I went upstairs, came back down to go to my sister's apartment, which was a few blocks away, to check on her, because I figured he would go there next. And he broke my skull with a crowbar. He came out of the bushes, hit me from behind. We fought. He broke my arm, beat me up. I ran down halfway down my block to the neighbors. They called the police. I called the police. Rushed to the hospital. I was in the ER. My spleen had ruptured. I was bleeding to death. And then I died. And so in the process of my near-death experience, which I didn't know anything about NDEs ever. And I've never heard anything about, so when it happened, it was the most weirdest, surreal fucking thing. It was so bizarre. And I went through this kaleidoscope tunnel, like I was telling you guys yesterday. And then I went into, I literally, as I was getting to the end of the tunnel, it started getting white, and I could feel God's presence. And,
were you religious before this? Did you believe in God before this or no?
No, I believed in God, but I had gotten grace from God within my recovery. You know what I mean? And so I was only sober about a year and two months. I wasn't sober very long. So my relationship with that was very new. Whereas before I got sober, I didn't believe in anything. And I definitely, I went into this white place and like my soul was there with these other souls and nobody has bodies and I knew all these people, right? All these beings that were there, I felt like I known for thousands of years, right? Wow. And so, it wasn't like, oh, my grandma was there or my grandpa was there. It was literally like people I had like felt like I had gone to war with like for thousands of years, like these beings, and everybody there would welcome me back. And the thing is, when I was dead, we are alive. So being alive is so short. It's like taking a nap. Like your life on this planet is so short in the vast comparison of how long your soul has existed. That it feels like you were like, I was like, oh, I took a nap. You know what I mean? And you're waking up and you're like, oh shit. But when you wake up, when you die, you wake up and you understand all the truth. Like, God's presence is like everlasting, eternal love. Like it's like falling in love times infinity. And his will is so benevolent. It's so crazy. That there's no fear. There's no question. It's super calm. You just know. And one of the people, one of the other spirits that was greeting me was like, he said, telepathically said, oh, you don't have to stay right now. And I realized I was dead. I was like, oh shit. Like I had like one of those moments. I was like, oh,
Do you think you had a choice when you say you don't have to stay? Do you think you had a choice?
No, well, they informed me that it wasn't like, they were like, oh, you don't have to stay now. And I was like, oh shit, I'm not done. So then once I like said I wasn't done, I fell. And I fell like through the atmosphere, like it felt like I fell from outer space and landed straight into the ER. I was in the ICU in a coma, and I like could see my body. Like I was looking. It's almost like the same feeling as if you looked off the ledge of a tall building, but I was in the room looking down at my body. Like, but it felt like I was so high up. But that's how I felt, and then I just went back in my body. And then when I sat up and took a breath, it was like I'd been held underwater for too long, and someone finally.
It was like you woke up and you remembered all of this.
Yeah. Like, well, I was very disoriented, and then my nurse was my high school girlfriend's best friend, Jesse, randomly, and then the guy who was standing out. There was a guy who came in my room, and I thought he was a cop, but he was like, "Oh, my name's George. I'm from Alcoholics Anonymous," and I'm like, "How did you find me?" So I had wound up, so that whole thing happened because I wound up calling the guy who helped me get sober originally, and I was like, hey bro, I think I'm dying, because I was being rushed to the hospital, and I forgot I had called him, and he called George, and they'd known each other from LA, and George moved to New York to get married to his wife, who was a teacher in New York City, and he waited for me to wake up. So I woke up, and like, my mom and sister had gone because my mom had work and my sister had school or whatever they were doing. And like this dude just hung back, just waited till I woke up. Like he took the day off of work and just kicked it.
Dude,
that's an insane story. We're gonna wrap up soon, but I want to ask, what do you have going on for the rest of the year? What can we expect to see from you? I know you have a lot of shit going on.
Can we talk? Wait. Can we talk for another 3 hours with this guy, please?
Oh, we can, but I think we just need to bring you back again. Later.
So this year we're doing. So I'm going back out on tour. I'm putting out a record, and it was going to come out in July. I'm going to push it to August. So the new album is called the solo artist name is The Lone Wolf. So you can look up Tommy Vext or The Lone Wolf. All streaming platforms, all over YouTube, TikTok.
We'll be putting all the links in there.
Yeah, don't bother with Instagram. They delete me every 6 months. It's not even worth it. Every time I get to like 200,000, they just take it down. Look, we gotta stop him. He's fucking.
Do you think they have this Tommy Vext spice that's in here? He hit 200, guys. Push the button.
It's pretty much it's the rats. The rats are like, So anyway, So basically, I'm going on tour. I'm doing a U.S. tour starting August 18th in Ramona, California. We'll be doing L.A. We're playing Dallas. We're playing Vegas. We're playing Denver. We're playing 3 shows in Florida, Fort Myers.
Yeah.
I don't think we're coming to Miami. I forgot. I think Orlando.
Yeah.
You got to look at my website.
So for the tour now, do they still have those stupid COVID restrictions in any places?
No. So in 2021, I refused to play any venues that had mask mandates or COVID restrictions. And so we had a very successful year of not doing that. This year, there's no restrictions. We're playing in Times Square in New York City, which is my
even there.
Yeah, so everything is
crazy.
Okay, well, we're coming.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we should go to every single show.
Every single show.
Just rent a truck and just follow behind us and do the podcast every night.
All good. Yeah. Hey, fuck, why not?
Yeah. You do workouts and stuff. You'd have people meet you guys on the road and fucking do group
Let's
fitness.
do it. Okay. It's a deal.
All right.
It's a deal. Okay, last question.
Yes.
What's your dream that you want to achieve? Like, so what's your number one thing that you want in life right now?
I've already done everything that I wanted to do.
You done?
No, I'm like, I've gone.
It doesn't have to be a thing.
Well, in my career, my career has gone so big, and it's gone so high, and then I'm good, right? Wow. I think the next thing, like I have no, the only thing I want to do is create long-term financial stability, and then see about having a family. Because that's the last thing I haven't conquered is like I haven't broken the generational curse of the broken family.
You want kids?
Oh yeah.
How many?
I don't know.
Whatever God's will.
1, 2, yeah. I mean, but I would adopt kids too.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because there are more kids who need.
I'll be very curious to know how you're raising these kids in this fucked up world. But I think you're gonna do a good. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Especially if I have a daughter, she's gonna be shooting. She's gonna be her second birthday. I'm like, here you go, little fucking 3-shooter. Like, if anyone says anything to you, you just click, clack, pow.
You know what I'm saying?
Love it.
Yes.
We gotta protect our girls, bro. That's the thing.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It's like
dude. I posted a shooting video the other day, and oh my god, it gets like chaos. We do this. I don't think guns are sexy. I'm like, if that's why you came to my page, then you're here for the wrong reason, dude. Yeah. Like, I didn't post that to look sexy. Or the best comments, oh, I am so happy that I live in a country where I don't need to learn this. The fuck do you live, dude?
What country do
Are
they
you
live in?
on Earth? Yeah. No, I don't even know.
It didn't really work out for but this is the funny thing is like, the fact of the matter is that it didn't work out for the Canadians or the Australians because their governments literally abuse them. Right? Like Trudeau just did a video being like, it's a terrible day for women. I can't believe that America has done this. And I'm like, yo, Trudeau, you beat women, bro. When the truckers went to fucking the trucker rally, the Canadian convoy, women were bringing food to the truckers and you sent your police. And I seen videos of you beating your cops beating up elderly women, not regular cops either. Wow. The government military MPs beating up elderly women. I'm like, the Canadian government beats women. Literally, there's fucking recorded video of it. Wow. They were throwing people in trucks and driving them to the middle of nowhere outside the city limit and dumping them on the highway so they have to walk back because they couldn't arrest them. They couldn't legally arrest them because they hadn't broken any laws. Wow. So they basically they militarized the Capitol Police there and then turned them into thugs. And I'm like, Justin Trudeau is a fucking scum cocksucking piece of fucking shit. And every time he says anything, it's sycophantic in his pathetic way of trying to, he's so insane. He tries to like make human emotion, but it's like, he can't not act because he doesn't know it. He's completely sociopathic and doesn't understand empathy. It's fucking hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
Damn. That's just...
You know what? I would love to do this all day, all fucking night. But
we gotta go shoot.
We gotta go shooting, right? So, Sir Vext, thank you so much for coming. Sir Vext. Stay tuned for this Vext syrup coming out soon.
It's not real. It's a complete joke. It's not even real.
It was.
Wait, don't say that. We never know.
It was definitely more than an hour and a half here, bro. Like, I'm really happy that I've met you because, like,
yeah, me too, bro. We were saying this the other day.
We need to have another episode. I also think I love talking the serious stuff, but we need to have an episode where we just fuck around.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, man. Well, all right. That's it. We're done. See you later, alligator.
Bye.
Bye.